Hello indie game fans, it's the last big week of releases with things really starting to slow down for the holidays, where we also have the start of the annual Steam Winter Sale this week, so look out for coverage, which means that new games will face stiff competition, but these developers are going to try anyway, beginning with Fountains, a pixel art action-adventure title with deliberate combat and Souls-like influence. You play as the hooded stranger recently imprisoned by a tyrannical regime, having to fight your way free and to uncover the mysteries of this war-torn empire. This has an interconnected world which loops back upon itself in parts, similar to the shortcut-based level design of FromSoft games, also having an online message system where you can leave messages for other players, so yes, this is very Dark Souls in terms of design, but is 2D pixel art. The tight controls will aid in the high-skilled combat, with monstrous bosses and deadly regular enemies to contend with, but luckily, you will get access to new abilities and tools to aid you on your quest. It will also have a cast of strange and interesting characters, both hostile and friendly, along with puzzles and secrets, making this a pretty promising entry for the week. We do also have some DLCs of interest this week, one of which is Blood West Dead Man's Promise, a content update to a game from 2023 that mixes eldritch horror and the Wild West, in which you play as the undead gunslinger cursed to roam the land until you purge it of their curse. However, this is a standalone expansion in which you play as the father of Twen, an NPC from the original game, and can be thought of as a side story from Chapter 2 of the main game. This character has signed a contract with the god of death, with his soul as the collateral, and now death has come to claim his due, where you need to wrangle lost souls for Death's herald. Instead of a gunslinger, you play as a shaman, who of course has new weapons and abilities at your disposal, including magic, the ability to summon minions as well as to curse your enemies, which is in addition to new guns which you are using to take out new eldritch monsters, also having a new skill tree and new perks to invest in. This is one of the best shooters in recent memory and is especially of interest to the boomer shooter fans due to the art style, but its stealth and more immersive sim elements does give you options, and this looks to be a hefty chunk of content. I did preview Idle Colony when looking at upcoming games of the month, where I mentioned that it reminded me of the Knob Epilogue, both being idle and incremental games that allow you to launch massive amounts of stuff in the air. With it being fruit in this case, it takes inspiration from the Suika merging games, since you are building a colony of these creatures to collect and merge bigger and bigger fruits, looking like an absolute explosion of colour, which is very satisfying. It is 2024 and almost 2025, but I do still have a soft spot for this kind of game, with modern iterations like this having their appeal as well. Love indie games? Sign up to my newsletter to get a weekly dose of what's hot, along with some news and of course, weekly game giveaways, so if interested, link is in the description below. Border Town is a captivating sandbox action-adventure crafting game that whisks you away to a world ravaged by orcs, where your character stumbles upon the ruins of a once peaceful village. As you explore this vast world, you encounter diverse environments from lush jungles to snowy tundras, and overcome challenges that arise from the day-night cycle as well as treacherous underground locations. You'll face formidable foes, including fantastical creatures, and forge relationships with NPCs, each with their own unique personalities. You can build relationships and connect with these villagers, recruiting them to join your side, and use their skills such as farming, mining, and lumberjacking to aid in the town's reconstruction. With over 600 unique items at your disposal, you can cultivate crops, cook food, craft equipment, and construct buildings, in addition to going out to explore and fight on adventures. Take on quests, gather resources, and explore abandoned camps to uncover hidden treasures, restore strongholds, and defeat formidable enemies. As such, this sandbox experience really does give you a lot of freedom, comparable to the activities you can do in games like Core Keeper and Terraria, looking like it has a lot of potential, but do note that it will be an early access release. I'm not quite sure what to make of this game, and it might be not so indie since Lost Islands is a PvPvE extraction RPG with melee combat that comes out of PlayStation's China Hero project and might have quite a large team behind it, but the concept looks intriguing and hey, it's free, so you might be interested in checking it out. Set in 1598 at the peak of the Age of Discovery, the mysterious Lost Islands are rumoured to be filled with immense wealth, but have been hidden behind a veil of mist and storms. But you, adventurer, get a chance to step on shore, so make the most of it. This is a self-styled hardcore survival game that directly cites Escape from Tarkov as inspiration, where you are exploring the island, teaming up with friends and strangers to take on powerful enemies and bosses, defeating them to obtain rare and valuable equipment and resources, but need to extract safely back out to the safe zone if you want to keep it, or risk losing it all if you die. Combat looks Souls-like as well, or maybe more Sekiro-inspired, where you need to deal with both enemies as well as hostile players who want to steal your stuff. There are 3 main factions which players can choose to help or fight against, also having a boss rush mode and seems ambitious. However, 2 curious things to note are that this game's last post on Twitter was 2020 and was at one point known as Ren Lost Islands, which I believe was conceived as a battle royale title that made the pivot to extraction RPG. So if that isn't chasing trends, I don't know what is, with the timing and release of this being weird, but again, it's free to play with in-app purchases that might just end up blowing up in popularity. Other games begin with the Steam release of Code Bunny, which was previously out on itch.io, a 2D action platformer that combines combat and high-speed traversal for quite the intense title. There are 2 playable characters here who are members of a space program, which is attempting to harness energy from a comet, but when that is threatened by a character known as Mad Bunny, our heroes must fight back, uncovering a hidden conspiracy in the process. The 2 characters are known as Hazel and Axel and have different attacks and abilities, the former using the Ghost Crescent while the latter uses Aether Energy. From what I know of its initial itch release, this is pretty well received, with the action being really fast and is the highlight, maybe a bit Sonic-like but with a more involved combat portion, so if you love games like this, be sure to pick it up. We also have the release of the long in development co-op action platformer Leif's Adventure Netherworld Hero, a story-driven 2D action-adventure title that celebrates the power of friendship and has a setting inspired by Nordic folklore. Our 2 heroes, Leif and Ghost, must work together to pass challenging platforming sections as well as combat in order to defend their home of the village of Hammerfall from a mysterious evil invasion. There are 6 realms to explore, each filled with side quests, hidden treasures and colourful characters, all while you evade traps, solve intricate puzzles, upgrade your gear and unlock new abilities. Our hero, Leif, excels in fighting, jumping and running, while Ghost can find hidden areas, activate ethereal objects and platforms, collect items, stun enemies, and while you can play this solo, I do think that the optimal experience is in co-op. Of course, the pixel art of Novice Dungeon Master is a selling point to me, but also it's a tycoon game by another name, in which you have become the master of a dungeon who has to manage it for 30 days, placing traps and monsters in said dungeon to attract adventurers who each have their own reasons as to why they want to visit. Curiously, unlike Dungeon Keeper or some of those other dungeon tycoon games, the intention is not to kill these heroes, but to ensure that they get what they want out of the experience and make it out alive, since the more satisfied they are, the better the reputation of your dungeon, which will attract more adventurers. As such, it's a little bit of a strange concept to wrap your head around, where even if you do make it tough and fill it with dangerous monsters, your dungeon will then gain that reputation and attract adventurers seeking a challenge. So I'm not sure what the fail state, if any, of this game is, but it is bound by the 30 in-game days, where your choices will lead to one of multiple endings. It looks super adorable, and I have to admit, if a game has an art style like this, I will at least give it a look, so indie developers, if you want my attention, you know what to do. From the developer of Archeo Gem comes Rocket Rats, a very different kind of game, since instead of being a precision platformer, this is a survivors-like bullet heaven roguelite title instead. Interestingly, the play area is much more restricted, since your rat is defending cheese-based astral bodies in space, having to fend off waves of enemies for just long enough so that you can extract the cheese for your space base. There are some minor changes, such as a choice of one of 4 upgrades when you level up instead of one of 3, also having permanent upgrade skill trees for each playable rat, looking like a well-made formulaic one of these, and looks like the hidden gem of the week. One of the best cozy game releases this year is Snufkin Melody of Moominvalley from March, which is releasing the Fuddler's Courtship paid DLC. This introduces Fuddler, a charming yet shy character, as he navigates the complexities of love and romance in Moominvalley. In contrast with the main game of having to stop the park maker, Snufkin and Moomin Troll are instead on a pleasant camping trip deep in the woods with friends, and is a new standalone story centered around the Fuddler character. Of course, the hand-drawn art, watercolor visuals, and autumnal atmosphere are the highlights and looks absolutely wonderful, making a great game even better. The visual style of The Midnight Crimes did draw me in, looking like the old Telltale games like The Wolf Among Us in particular, and similarly is a detective adventure game as well. Benjamin Layton is a war veteran and retired private detective who has lost his family to a tragic and gruesome murder, which has led him to seek solace in the bottle, which he uses to deal with insomnia and unending guilt. However, as fate would have it, a new case crosses his desk, where he needs to locate a missing child, so he embarks on this new mission while facing his own demons in the process. For the most part, this looks and plays like a point-and-click adventure game, where you direct the character throughout the city to search for clues and talk to characters, interacting with the world and environment while also making narrative choices, which has an impact on other characters and whether or not you get access to side missions. The crime-solving part involves gathering these clues and linking them up on a pegboard via red string as you try to figure out what happened and to solve the case. Curiously, there are stats in this game in the form of stress, reputation, and eloquence, which all affect Benjamin's effectiveness when interacting with others, also being able to adopt a pet for emotional support as the other main system. This game has a semi-open world to explore, and interestingly, a day-night cycle where the dates do matter, looking to be more mechanically complex than the point-and-click adventure games of old and looks intriguing. This one's for indie game developers. The free indie game marketing resources are ready, so sign up via the link in the description below to get it in your mailbox. We still have some high potential titles this week for some reason, where I don't usually encourage indie developers to release their games in December, since people who cover games tend to be on break, and for the more general player population, while they may get time off from work, might have family commitments, are playing through their backlog for the year, or any of a bunch of 90% discounted titles from Steam sales, which decreases the likelihood of a new game taking off. But alas, maybe due to business reasons or whatever, some developers like to leave the game until the last minute, such as Flint's Treasure of Oblivion, which, to be fair, I believe is a case of being delayed more than intentionally targeting December. This is set during the golden age of piracy and is a CRPG with turn-based tactical combat on the grid, but combines that with real-time exploration as you lead your crew of pirates on the high seas. It's a classic tale of your pirate crew seeking out a legendary treasure and does look great, to be fair, so here's wishing the developer all the best. When I last mentioned Make Lawn, I asked for a way to describe this pixel art style since I do quite like it, and the winning entry is Thixel Art, being technically pixel art, but one where the outlines are quite pronounced, which gives it a great look. so if you want to, you can use that term as well. This is a defense RTS tower defense roguelite in which you are gathering resources and building up your Viking settlement by day and then fending off waves of skeletons at night, being able to advance up the tech tree to construct more powerful towers and defenses, and looks similar in concept to Thronefall. If the theme song for this trailer didn't give it away, Neko Odyssey is a light-hearted, cat-focused adventure game in which you explore this Japanese-inspired city to take pictures of cats. This mixes pixel art sprites and 3D environments quite nicely, along with the hand-drawn art in the photographs that you take, so while not exactly visually consistent, I think it is very well done in this case. The gameplay portion involves exploring and searching for cats in unlikely places, taking photos to upload to social media to earn likes, and as your popularity grows, you will get tips from the community on where to find new cats, having to establish a connection with some of the cats before you're allowed to take photos of them and so on. In addition to taking photos, there is a central storyline and a mystery of the town to uncover, looking absolutely adorable, and does come to us from a developer out of Thailand, so Southeast Asia represents. After a delay of about a month, we also have the release of On Your Tail, a furry detective adventure game that might be a little bit more light-hearted, even if there is a phantom thief character as the main antagonist. You play as Diana, an amateur writer seeking inspiration in the picturesque summer haven of Bogo Marina after the rejection of her latest piece, getting to know the locals and to simply walk and live in this wondrous location. But beware, since the phantom thief is causing trouble for the locals. It is up to you to crack the case by gathering clues using a magical device known as the Chrono Lens, which allows you to view things as they were before the crime occurred. So think Return of the Obra Dinn and you get some idea. Once you have gathered the clues, you can reenact the crime in real time using an adorable looking diorama, solving incident after incident until you find the thief. However, in between this, you can also head to the beach to play marbles, go swimming, go fishing, or work part-time at the restaurant in a variety of mini-games, even being able to go on dates and to get into relationships with other characters, so it doesn't appear to be all that serious and leans more on the cozy end of things and does look pretty charming. The 1.0 release of the pixel art Heroes of Might and Magic-like Songs of Conquest is a must-play both for fans of the classic series as well as newcomers, and following that success, did announce a roadmap which includes new factions, the first of which is here in Vanir, a Viking civilization that also has command of trolls, giants and more, with 8 new troops, 9 new heroes, new buildings, towns and settlements, 5 new conquest maps, 2 new challenge maps, new artifact sets and a new frosty biome to explore, making this even better. Watch this video for the best upcoming pixel art games of 2025.